Ethel Cain is one of the most fascinating artists in pop music, an artist who has done it entirely on her own terms and made it into, I guess, the pantheon of pop stars with challenging drone albums that are meant to be blockbuster pop moments with songs that stretch over 10 minutes. Her career is so confusing and interesting to unpack, and that's exactly what we are going to do on the Pop Pod today. Talk about her second album, Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You, and also talk about an artist who's very similar to Ethel Cain, Taylor Swift, who has announced her 12th album, which is called The
Last Showgirl Returns.
Diary of a Showgirl? No.
Diary of a Mad White Showgirl. I'm honestly blanking.
I am blanking as well.
The Showgirl.
Taylor Swift's 12th album is called, if you can bear with us for a moment, 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl.
I never would have got there. Okay.
We will be talking about Taylor Swift's 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl, as well. Welcome to the Pop Pod. I am Sam, also known as Pop Sam Cam, and I am joined by a good friend and somebody who I often talk about music privately with, but we've decided to bring it into the public arena. This is Jan.
Hey there.
And Jan is going to help me navigate this incredibly dense Ethel Cain record today. How are you, and are you ready for this?
Sam, I'm excellent. As you know, I was at an amusement park much of yesterday, so I'm a bit winded. I can't turn my neck more than 45 degrees at a time.
Perfect, because that's all we'll be doing today.
Okay, excellent, yeah. But with this close of proximity, shouldn't be an issue.
Jan's background, I'm not, I've run a
Jan's
background
ethnic
check
background.
to kick off the podcast. Jan is a big Lana Del Rey fan, as am I, and we
Certainly.
often get into pretty deep and lengthy conversations in situations that don't really lend themselves to that, like the middle of a party, which is where this relationship between us begins, and I felt like we could maybe try and translate it on the podcast. We'll see how we go.
Oh, yes, heated debates. At Sam's wedding, I took him aside.
I was going to say this.
And, yeah, had a little moment of, blue banisters is better than chemtrails. Do you agree? And he said yes, but now's not a good time.
And it wasn't a good time. But it also put me on the spot to really think about that decision. And what I decided was blue banisters.
The correct call, yeah.
We're going to talk about Taylor Swift first, though. If you listen to the last episode, I ranked Taylor Swift's 11 albums, unknowing at the time that just 12 minutes after publishing that episode, she would announce her 12th album, which the name has, they should have really market tested this name, because for some reason it is just one in one ear and out the other at the moment. But she has announced this album. What we know about it so far, and I don't know, we haven't talked about this, so I don't know what you know, but it seems that she has entirely produced this with Max Martin and Shellback, who she last worked with on Reputation in 2017. So this is the first time she's returning to that kind of sound. It seems like Jack Antonoff is going to be nowhere to be found on this record, and this is a proper pop return. How do you feel about this, and how do you generally land on her pop works, I guess, read from Reputation?
I would say, I mean, as you know, I was quite in the Taylor hater camp for a long time. I'd say most of my adult life, until Folklore came around, gave me a big tailspin. I think a lot of this had to do with the fact that the songwriting was borrowing some merits and some inspiration from Lana's and Lord's, people that I respected a lot, songwriting-wise.
Yeah.
But it did feel like it contained a true authenticity. It didn't feel like it didn't feel false for her. So, and then around the time of Midnight, I lost a bit of interest, but still those albums in what I would refer to as her, golden time, I still listen to every now and then and really enjoy.
Imperial era.
As I'm in her rose stage, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you don't feel a way about the pop records, really?
I don't so much know quite enough about them. I mean, for a long time, I enjoyed 1989.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't? I would say my favorite of hers to echo your number one ranking would be Folklore.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
No,
okay.
it's fine. Go for it. There's 10 other placements that you can find out about.
Very.
Yeah. I have a totally different story than you when it comes to Taylor Swift, because I tapped in at 1989 after being quite a hater. I saw the 1989 tour. Hater's a strong word. No, hater works. I wasn't a fan of Red at all, which is really funny because it's now one of my favorite albums from her. And it was totally just snobbery and just completely unnecessary. In 1989, I just thought had like at least 4 or 5 perfect pop songs on it.
Well, would you like to list them now?
I would like to list them now.
Let's hear it.
Blank Space.
Done.
Style.
Okay.
Out of the Woods.
Mm-hmm. Out of the Woods is on there. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clean,
I love Clean.
And let's also go Wildest Dreams, I think is
Wildest
great.
Dreams is
very Lana.
It's known to be very Lana, which really, right down to the brunette hair in the video, it just takes my breath away.
It's
Natalie Wood. Let's hear it.
It's a really strong album, and I feel better about Reputation now too than I did when it first came out, and I really like the Max Martin stuff on there. So I'm wondering if they can recapture this magic that they had previously. I'm not sure.
Hard to say. Yeah, Reputation is a good example of when it came out. I was like, oh, this is, for lack of a more interesting word, like quite cringe, quite hard to defend. Yet I'd look back on it and sounds like delicate. I'm like, wow, this is very powerful stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it was just mismarketed, that album, in a way.
Truly.
And that's kind of her fault, because it was like the whole revenge thing of it all was what drove the marketing. But like looking back on it now, that's not what the record is, and it's not the strongest points of it either. But I wonder this without having a narrative really behind it. Like, I don't think there's any victim-y thing going on right now in Taylor Swift's life, which is an interesting way to go into a record. Like the Scooter Braun of it all, like that kind of created a narrative. The Kanye narrative, like she's always been, and like sometimes obviously probably often not her fault, but it's really driven the like marketing of the albums in a positive way, I would say. So to go into this with this story being like, I'm in love with a really famous footballer is like an interesting one that we haven't explored before. So I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah. If you're willing to share with the audience, are you in the camp of Reputation, Taylor's version is finished, it's in the can, and she's waiting to be scorned to release it?
No. I think that I do genuinely believe that she tried, but I don't think that 1989, the re-record, went very well. Max Martin, interestingly, wasn't involved in it, which made me think that maybe that relationship had been severed, but obviously he didn't want to work on rehashing old material. He wanted new material.
To be fair, yeah.
And so I just don't think Reputation is the most produced album that she has, like in terms of like there's trap beats, like there's kind of like EDM elements, and to recreate them now, just it ages it a lot. And I think it happened with 1989. And I think Reputation TV could have been a disaster. That said, the Vault tracks, I would be the most excited to hear them of any album.
Off Reputation, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that'd be great. Anyway, we will wait and see what happens. I feel like in the next few weeks we might get a single or at least an official announcement of when the album's coming. Knowing how this podcast has been going, she'll probably drop the single as soon as we hit end of record on this. Talking about an album that is out, that we do have all the information about, as much as we could take in. I'm not sure how I've translated that, but we're going to do our best. Ethel Cain's Willoughby Tucker, I Will Always Love You. It's her I'll Always Love You. I'll always love you. I think she uses the apostrophe. Yeah. Very concise, very appreciative of that. A way you would not describe most of this record is concise, I would say, but she did save that for that. This is the follow-up, the official follow-up to Preacher's Daughter. She released Perverts in January, which was basically an ambient drone record that threw everybody off the scent. She really shocked me with Nettles and Fuck Me Eyes because they were much more like pop leaning, and I use pop in a word that I only connect to Ethel Cain, because I'm not saying she made a Taylor Swift record with Fuck Me Eyes, but it's more palatable than a lot of her stuff. And in fact, I think it threw a lot of people off the scent on this record because those are clear outliers for me. I guess before we get into it all, I want to know, like, how are your feelings of Ethel Cain in general, and like when do you become kind of fascinated by her as an artist?
Sure, yeah. I think a lot of my fascination with Ethel Cain came when I saw like the music in regards to like, oh, she looks like this and she sounds like this. What an interesting sort of dichotomous presentation. Much with like how I talked about how I find like Noah Cyrus's voice to be very different from how she presents herself, and that is like a very fun thing to play with. I then I became aware of Ethel Cain in the summer of 2022 when I was still living in Berlin. I saw her at Silent Green, and I want to say like November, December of that year, and it was just quite.
I've never seen her.
Is that right?
No,
wow.
never.
Well, she's coming to New York in all of.
I saw her support Caroline Polachek.
Oh, how long ago? For which tour?
2023, I want to say. I saw her.
Oh, it's a very fun lineup. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
And did you make it for the opener this time?
She was the opener.
Right, but were you there?
I was there.
Okay,
I was there.
Yeah.
For at least 2 songs.
I would say, just her. I think the like long straight hair is very arresting. Her sort of like frail presentation in regards to what she's singing, because she always comes from a very vulnerable sort of place, and we can talk about her going in and out of this persona of Ethel Cain later on, and whether or not she's going to give that up. But yeah, felt like her hand and forehead hairline tattoo was very cool. What would your hairline tattoo say?
The last show. Still can't remember it.
Still
There's
not
one
quite sure,
word there that I need
honestly.
to unlock the entire title,
It's like
and I can't get it.
Tattoos for the sake of memento and remembering. Like, note to self.
I think that part of the reason why Ethel Cain is such an interesting person to study, most like a lot of it, the stereotypes of like trans women, I think in pop music in general, has been kind of painted as like almost a Kim Petras figure, obviously, because it's really difficult for them to break through, and it's of no fault of the trans community at all. Of course, it's completely the industry. But I think to see an artist who was making this kind of music and unapologetically celebrating her like southern roots was very jarring for people.
Oh, certainly,
in the beginning, because they're like immediately people think, oh, if you're like complimenting the South, you are complimenting the like
the history
ideals
of the South
and the history of it as
certainly.
well, which I don't think that Ethel Cain has ever been about. But she's never abandoned her like history with the South. In fact, I think she still lives in the South. I think she lives in Florida potentially. No, not somewhere. Alabama, Florida.
Right.
But yeah, it was an interesting like juxtaposition for people to try and figure out, and I loved watching it happen in the beginning, where people were like kind of self-destructing at the idea that like,
myself included, absolutely,
exactly, that a trans person like within pop music could be like this and could be so different to anything else we were seeing. And I think that's been not one of the best, but it's been like one of the most intriguing things to unpack about Ethel Cain. This like space in the industry that she takes up so unapologetically, and I've loved seeing that. And I think that translates to how people have found how naughty it is, the way that she's navigated a pop career, because I only found this out today, and this is fascinating to me, but she was signed to Dr. Luke's label. He tried to kind of like box her into a certain thing, smooth over her pop songs, and she rejected that.
He said blonder, more tan.
Exactly. Collaborate with Sam Smith.
Truly.
But she was very defiant in being like, this is the kind of record that I want to make. And her defiance is what makes her such a good artist. And her defiance is also what makes her a frustrating artist to follow at times, because particularly when you're like me and you study pop music and you kind of celebrate pop music, to see somebody who is on the brink of superstardom almost get in her own way at This is such a hard thing to talk about because getting in her way is not the right word, because she's getting in her own way of being a superstar, but that's totally on purpose because she doesn't want to be a superstar. Anybody who wants to be a superstar doesn't follow up the virality of American Teenager with an ambient drone album, you know?
Safe to say, especially when she's down on the record saying, please don't make me play this fucking song anymore. She's very over it. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Dr. Luke is producing with a trans artist that is releasing, I think her average track length on this album is probably 7 or 8 minutes long. That's quite something.
Yeah, I mean, he was clearly like, we are in very different paths, and thank God, because certainly. I think what she's gone on to do is create not only a cult fan base, but a continuously growing fan base by sticking to exactly what she wants to make. And that's really fascinating, because I think that this could have got to a certain point where people were like, this is getting too difficult for me to follow now. Like, but it doesn't. It just continues to get bigger. Like, I think that like there's Nettles from this record already has 15 million streams, which is like, this is a 6-minute like song. It's truly what she's been able to do. I literally can't find any other career in pop that I could connect her to other than maybe Lana Del Rey. Only because it feels like Lana Del Rey could be so much bigger if she followed the pop kind of rule book in some kind of way. And she never
could have been much bigger, much earlier on, before the titodification of like many unreleased tracks sort of put her to the forefront. But also there's kind of a through line between these two artists in the persona they've created for themselves. I don't know if you remember, I actually tried to look up this article, so maybe it was just my own fantasy, but in maybe Ultraviolence era, there was this rumor that Lana was going to give up the Lana persona and pursue another artistic track. Again, I tried to find this and couldn't find anything, so maybe it was just something of my own imagination. But with Ethel announcing on a podcast recently, like, oh yeah, this is the last thing I will be doing for Ethel Cain. Essentially, her story is over.
Exactly, but I'm not even sure if she knows. Like, I was listening to the New York Times podcast as well, and I got the sense that she's not sure how to treat Ethel Cain from this point onwards. Like,
how do you think Dr. Luke feels?
As Hayden, or
right?
The Dr. Luke produced Hayden debut is coming.
The Dr. Luke produced Perverts, ambient noise album, like you've never heard him before. What did when was the last time you listened to Perverts in its entirety? I have to ask.
I listened to it probably 3 times the week that it came out, and I've listened to it probably once since. However, I have listened to certain songs from it. Like, I think Amber Waves is really
Amber Waves is gorgeous, and a couple tracks on this album was very reminiscent of Amber Waves.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time I heard Perverts was kind of an odd day. I didn't really know what to expect. I think I was at the gym, and it was the first time I had ever taken pre-workout in my life, and the machines came to life. It was a bit of an overload.
What about Perverts was telling you gym time? Like,
the fact that I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be like a cheeky little gym romp, when in fact it was nothing of the sort. It was a hit class in the pits of hell. It was very fun.
I was so shocked when I heard it. Also, we did not have knowledge of Willoughby Tucker coming like mere months after it. So in many people's mind, it was, this is what we're getting from Ethel Cain this year, which is incredibly jarring. And I think that a lot of people lie about liking this record. I think that a lot of people didn't listen to this record. And I believe that some people really love it and were very challenged by what this album presented. And I guess when she announced this album, the second one, I felt like this was going to be her servicing the fans who were maybe alienated by what she did on Perverts.
Certainly.
And particularly with Nettles and Fuck Me Eyes, I thought, yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. However, having now listened to the album, it's not as far away from Perverts as you would expect. I wonder if you feel the same way.
Oh, especially for the instrumental tracks.
Right.
And also even, I don't know, like Fuck Me Eyes and a couple other songs, this almost sounds like it exists in the Twin Peaks universe. It's very, this album in general is a sort of a a large reflection of like middle America, the sort of beauty in the mundane, you could say.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, Perverts is much darker, but songs like Tempest, songs like Dust Bowl definitely go to that dark place. I think this being sort of a through line between Perverts and Preacher's Daughter is, I don't think anyone would argue with that.
I feel like that, what you said about it being like a reflection of kind of like middle America. She's such a powerful artist at like bringing to life the settings that she's writing this music in, because I think Perverts, she said she was very inspired by like power lines or something like that. Like she would drive to this kind of like power park or whatever you call wherever electricity's made, and she would really like, that was inspiring most of the record. And I feel that kind of like sparseness in a lot of this album as well, of the South, of where she's like growing up. And I also feel the amplification of the feelings that can be intensified when you're in that kind of setting. Like falling in love is not kind of watered down by the fact that you're going about your everyday life in New York and being surrounded by hundreds of people and being pushed around in the street. You know, like you've got so much time to sit in your feelings and like feel every single thing so intensely. And I really found that like one of the most fascinating things about this record was hearing the instrumental tracks and feeling very enveloped by the setting that she was describing, and then her following it up with a song like Nettles or something like that, and then just feeling totally like smacked over the face
for sure
by the emotion that she was giving. And I don't think you can do that if you're in a city like LA or New York, for example. Like it's very clear that this album was not written in LA.
Certainly not, but it's also this is like a album about young love that sort of is a work of fiction. It almost feels like
the prequel to Preacher's Daughter.
Precisely, yes, absolutely. We need to establish that for my own timeline as well. But basically, it's sort of interesting because she doesn't draw much, as far as we know, from her own lived experience. That she sort of has presented this as something on its own, as part of this persona, this young love, these feelings of this young love that you've chased for so long, that is then followed by a long period of ambivalence. What I really want, who is this person? Certain songs like, I'm blanking on the names now, but about the sort of, okay, you have this love and now this person is changing, growing. You're seeing them really kind of for who they are, and how you feel about that, and how when this love is lost, how you feel just completely stricken and empty. It's quite powerful.
Devastating,
stuff.
I would say. By the time you arrive at, is it Waco?
Waco, Texas, yeah.
Waco, Texas. I think for me, that's probably the best track on the album.
It's sort of interesting because if she was sort of in this Perverts mindset, the album finisher would obviously be Tempest, just total and utter devastation.
Yeah.
The storm has come.
Yeah.
And just what is left in its wake.
Right.
And then Waco, Texas is sort of presumably comes before the storm, when the character Willoughby is like lost or dies, hard to say. But this is more existing in the not quite honeymoon phase of their love, but like when the possibility of tragedy coming tomorrow is just so far away. There's no possible way.
But knowing like what comes after makes this song harder to listen to. I feel like makes the devastation, and she knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, certainly.
In doing that, because I think there's lyrics about like picking out kids' names and stuff like that in this, and it's very it's not delivered in like a Taylor Swift Paper Rings kind of way. It's delivered in a what's coming, so you know how devastating this is. And
certainly,
that's when the lore, I guess, of Ethel Cain becomes important. I'm, to be honest, not that up on the lore of Ethel Cain, in terms of I haven't done a lot of reading outside of what I take from the records.
Though we did try.
We did really try. We did try. One time I had to do the lore of 21 Pilots for an assignment that I did not prescribe for myself.
Shall we say?
And I was like, what? Surely this is not coming from the mind of the artist. Like,
Oh
the
my
fans,
God.
I think, color in most of it in the end.
Right. If you can fathom the lore and the theories behind the song Betty off of folklore, that
There's a
escalated
link. We
by
finally
millions.
connected
Yes,
them.
the link. Yeah, this
The
the
link is
lyric.
Betty.
The lyric in "Fuck Me Eyes" of "She's better known for the thing that she does on the haystack."
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Do you think Willoughby Tucker ends up with Betty?
I think 10 years down the road for Ethel's version, we might get a little
Ethel's
surprise.
version. Is there a certain track for you specifically that stands out above the rest? Because for me,
say-
it's Waco, Texas.
Interesting. You mean in terms of quality or in terms of
In terms of
this
quality,
is-
like what emotionally resonated with you the most, I think.
Well, as I texted you maybe a month ago, "Fuck Me Eyes" is the song of the summer, and you're
Perfect
like, yes,
song.
absolutely. But upon further listens, I think honestly, Radio Towers is for an instrumental track, and as someone who doesn't listen to a lot of music without lyrics,
Yeah.
it is. I find it to be very powerful. It's almost like this message of love or loss or something being sent out into the world but not reaching its destination.
Yeah.
I think of like letters during the war lost to the sands of time. It's very, I don't know, and then the like sounds of this very slight heart monitor going in and out at the very end. It's just very powerful stuff. But lyrically, yeah, honestly, Tempest or Waco Texas is up there.
Yeah.
Dust Bowl, Love Drought, all very, yeah.
Dust Bowl's an interesting one for me because it's one of the more like elongated and kind of muddy songs in that it really feels like she's languishing over every single word that she's saying. So I guess what I'm interested in from you is like how you feel this stacks up to Preacher's Daughter in terms of like emotional resonance, but also do you think that it's going to have the same kind of like widespread acclaim that Preacher's Daughter did have? And is it going to access some of it? Because I feel like Preacher's Daughter accessed some audiences that we maybe wouldn't expect a record like that to access. You know, like the fan base that she built, like we've talked about, is way bigger than we thought. Is
Sure,
this
yeah.
album going to elevate that, or is it going to keep it the same, or is it going to ruin it?
Yeah. I mean, not to create another through line between Ethel and Lana, but I don't know, Preacher's Daughter being her by far her most pop, her most accessible album, to get her name out there and to know that she can make a record like that with tracks like American Teenager, tracks like, I don't know, maybe Strangers isn't quite as pop friendly, but
Yeah.
that she does have this in her and then has since departed from that.
Yeah.
Which, and in doing so and in making an album like Perverts, stuff that is much less accessible and more, I feel like this sort of thing, just this choice is just makes her fan base more devoted, more rabid, because they know
Yeah.
that they're in on something that not everyone understands.
Right. That's a really interesting point. And maybe something that she hasn't done intentionally, but I feel like she knows that. Like
Right.
making an ambient drone album and making this album that has 3 instrumental tracks and 2 or 3 tracks that stretch over 10 minutes.
Right.
It's maybe a safer space than she thought it was. Like, I feel like there's a contrarian nature to her fan base that will
Certainly.
eat this kind of stuff up, that casual fans might be like, I need to dip at this point because there's not an American Teenager on this record.
Certainly. Although when Fuck Me Eyes came out, that was, as you said earlier, this really threw me off the scent in a big way. Like, just not much of the album is anything close to similar to this track as far as easy lyrics, easy to sing along to.
Yeah, it's such an outlier.
It's such an
Even the
outlier.
instruments used in it are so different to the rest of the record.
Totally.
Like nothing else could be described as synth pop. I actually
it.
find both Nettles and this to be kind of red herrings because Nettles has this kind of almost country roots vibe to it. And I feel like the songwriting is more traditional than elsewhere on the album. And I felt like maybe that's where she was going to go with the whole record. And then she doesn't. And then Fuck Me Eyes, I was like, okay, maybe she's going to play with synths more. But she doesn't.
Right. The album comes
Really-
out and she's like, no, this is for the... Does her fan base have a name? This is for the real Citizen Kane's. Hard
Perverts,
to say.
inbreds.
This is for the real inbreds.
Yeah. But it almost feels to me like... I thought after hearing those two songs, I was like, well, she's going to at least match the abstractness of Preacher's Daughter, but not outdo it. And I was wrong because she outdoes it.
And
this at
the
many
twist.
points feels like a deconstructed Preacher's Daughter.
Sure.
In that you would feel like, I feel like in many of the really long songs on Preacher's Daughter, she would bring in like this really kind of bolstered production on a song like House in Nebraska or
Sure.
Hard Times or something like that. Like she would bring in something that would feel like a thud almost. And this record almost feels like it's hovering the entire time. Like you really don't get that like sonic weight that Preacher's Daughter does at all. And by the time you get to the final instrumental track, which is it? Yeah, I feel like Radio Towers, then by the time that hits, you kind of feel like you're just lost in the woods almost. Like there's no...
Lost
this
in the
record is
storm.
gives you, as a listener, so much less direction than Preacher's Daughter does.
Certainly, yeah.
You're left to kind of color this story yourself. And I think there's an element of that to Preacher's Daughter, but much less than this. Like a lot of that is really lyric led, whereas a lot of the feeling on this album is really instrumental led, and without the kind of dynamic that Preacher's Daughter has. And I feel like for me, I've found that Preacher's Daughter I could often just put on in the background and like catch moments of emotional resonance for myself.
Sure.
This one I have to be really locked in and really be following it, apart from Nettles and Fuck Me Eyes.
Which are just easy listening compared to the rest of this album.
Honestly, really. Do you feel the same way, like stacking these two up against each other? Do you think this one's more abstract?
Yeah, by far. Oh, yes. I would say tracks that sort of stuck with me from Preacher's Daughter. I love Sun Bleached Flies. House in Nebraska is that the longest track on Preacher's Daughter?
It's surely one of them.
It feels
The
that
longest track, but also maybe some of the most memorable melodies.
Certainly, yeah.
Which is not something this album does.
Right. I mean, that's
actually,
more of
maybe
a-
Waco, Texas has some of the most memorable melodies.
Sure, and that's an almost 50-minute song.
Yeah.
I mean, House in Nebraska is very much like a harmonious odyssey. It really isn't. It has a lot of emotional weight to it, but it's not a difficult listen by any stretch of the imagination. Versus,
Yeah.
I'd say a good half of this album is like difficult yet challenging, yet like comes with a sonic relief. Minus maybe a song like Dust Bowl, which is just punishing, but I still might
Punishing
say
is a great word for this album in
Right,
general,
honestly.
I think. Yeah.
I still might say Dust Bowl is probably my standout track. I would give that the Barack Obama Award for American Songwriting, personally.
It's going to end up on his summer playlist.
I hope so. I pray.
I know that you're tapped into the Barack Obama summer playlist. Like,
Quite,
that's saved straight away on Spotify.
American Teenager, Part 1.
She is a punisher in terms of an artist. She likes to put her...
Certainly,
Pain
yes.
is very central to the Ethel Cain experience.
Pain, grief,
Yeah.
reflection, nostalgia, realizing that what you hoped for, whether or not you have it, was just maybe a bit sort of the pain of wisdom
Yeah.
with the loss of innocence and the loss of naivete and how that can kind of suck.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because she's not the first artist to explore these kind of themes. And in many ways, you can pick up themes like this.
The Weeknd.
On a line. I was going to say Meghan Trainor.
Right,
but
please.
Yeah. Another punisher.
honestly maybe in the more literal sense, yeah.
But I feel like Lana Del Rey and Lorde have invested in some of these themes in a very different way in terms of like hopelessness and like that kind of feeling of vacancy. But there's a sense that comes with all of those albums that you get some kind of resolve. Like
Sure.
even on Norman effing Rockwell, when it finishes on Hope is a
You say
Dangerous
effing
Thing.
Rockwell, but you can say fucking
know, why did I-
eyes. You're just used to it. I mean, I
I
say
am
NFR.
used to it.
Yeah.
Norman Frockwell.
Fuck my eyes.
Yeah, fuck. F me eyes doesn't have the
F me doesn't
same
have the-
power
quite the
to
same,
it.
yeah.
She really gets around town in her own Cadillac, in her mom's jeans that she cut to really show off her ass. She's got her makeup done and her high heels on. She's got her hair up to God. She's gonna get what she wants.
Like even with Hope is a Dangerous Thing, you get some kind of not resolve as in hopefulness, but it feels like it's wrapping up the story.
Right. It feels
somewhat.
very complete. You feel a
Right.
sense of maybe a melancholic satisfaction, but a satisfaction nonetheless.
Yeah. They're like, don't ask if I'm happy. Don't ask
know
ask
that
if
I'm
I'm
not.
happy. You know that I'm not. At best, I can say I'm not sad.
Yeah.
I think that's a real kind of like tie up in terms of her entire career. People have asked her if she's happy.
Right.
To address that question on the final track is like somewhat bringing us some kind of resolve, which is just not something you can hope for with an Ethel Cain album.
Certainly not.
At all.
No.
She is never out to give you some kind of like feeling of buoyancy by the end of this album. Like there's no lightness,
jubilance
there's no
to be
payoff
found.
at the end.
Right.
It is pure pain, and that is really something that's both difficult and like really rewarding to listen to, as well, to hear an artist go into that. It's a harrowing experience listening to this album, but I'm like caught between two worlds because I do find it quite harrowing and quite punishing to get through at times. But I do find that like the just like gut wrenching nature of it is somehow a joy to listen to. Like, sorry.
I mean, when so much amazing art comes from pain, it's hard to root for the well-being of the artist that you so love.
Right.
Woof.
That is. I almost feel like we should just end the podcast
Honestly,
there because that is the point, really,
truly.
isn't it? Like we are.
She's in a great place
benefiting
now.
from
Well,
the
I wish she
suffering.
wasn't.
Yeah, like if she just finds herself in a happy relationship, moves to LA, like we're not getting
We're done.
another record as good as this.
Starts
are
her film
we?
career, certainly not.
But one thing that we were speaking about, like outside of the podcast, off the record, which I'm going to bring on the record, is that while she maybe doesn't have the aspiration to become a stadium kind of artist, she understands the business and she understands that occasionally she needs to play the game to propel this
Certainly.
forward enough to make her enough money to continue to make this kind of art that she wants to make, as challenging as it can be. And American Teenager is that record on the first album. And Fuck Me Eyes, I think, F Me Eyes, sorry, is that record on this album, I think, that's very cleverly being like, here's a bit of a pop moment, come to the tour, and then I will put you through hell.
Here's the carrot.
Yeah.
Come aboard, little pidgeys, and then
Right.
and then the room goes dark and shotgun blasters are heard.
Which I think works in a way.
Absolutely,
It gets me. And Perverts doesn't have that moment on it. Like,
Certainly
because
not.
it's not, I don't think it's designed as a record to like tour off the back of or anything like that.
Right.
Whereas there just feels like now having Fuck Me Eyes and American Teenager, it feels so intentional. Like
For
I
sure,
can
yeah.
really see the intention behind it now.
Yeah. Which is awfully wild considering that you said Perverts has the highest pitchfork rating of these three.
Right. Which is
Comes with a bit of a groan.
this is
and
a
an eye roll from
contrarian
me,
going
but
up against a
truly,
contrarian.
honestly,
Like
yeah.
really, it's the battle of the contrarian.
I thought I was the edgelord with the hot takes here, but it turns out.
Well, do you want to end us on a hot take? Like, what's your final takeaway from this album? Firstly, like, what are some of the records that you've really enjoyed this year, and how does this
Sure.
stack up against them?
I would say, honestly, I'm quite a fan of 6 to 7 tracks off of Mayhem.
Right.
As you love to say, if you dig deeper enough, this is the album of the year. I kind of feel that with Mayhem.
Yeah.
I'd say, well, what else has come out this year even?
Lord, Virgin.
I did enjoy Lord as well. Just like I said, Man of the Year kind of put me off a bit. But then when I realized that these
Right.
themes of identity and masculinity weren't as literal as that song would have implied, I was like, oh wait, I really enjoy this album. What else? Give me more.
Haim came out. What else do we have? Kali Uchis came out. Bad Bunny. In terms of big pop albums, it's been few and far between. Miley Cyrus. Yeah.
Every time Miley releases an album, it just makes me listen to Dead Pets more and more. It's really bizarre. It's a real anomaly, but yeah, my album of the year.
One of the few, I would say, is Dead Pets.
Absolutely. Karen, don't be sad.
There's something very Dead Pets about this Ethel Cain album, I feel, too, actually.
As far as it being a complete dismissal of what
is expected,
but also what will sell, I think that's pretty cool.
So is this one that you're going back to, like,
certainly,
after this is over? Like, it holds enough weight for you to keep going back?
Most definitely, yeah. Especially, I know this is sort of an album that I can imagine the track I return to the most will change quite a bit, but for now, I still really enjoy Nettles. Not tired of it yet.
Nettles is phenomenal.
It's just really stunning, really strong stuff. As I said, Dust Bowl, and I think, Radio Towers certainly. If I'm waiting for something that will never come. As well as, Dust Bowl.
So the instrumental ones get you?
For the first time in my life, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Although I would say Willoughby's theme and Willoughby's interlude, I don't feel that affected by. I don't feel a lot of emotional resonance there. But they don't take up enough space on the album that I would consider them skips, per se.
I think Willoughby's theme is one of the true missteps on this album, because I don't think that she's enough with Just Janie to, like, suddenly hit us with an instrumental track that perhaps doesn't carry the same weight as one like Radio Towers.
Sure, yeah.
And then to come back from that to, like, Nettles and Fuck Me Eyes is kind of jarring in the run of the album. That said, I've almost completely forgotten about that by the end of the album. And
certainly, yeah.
I feel very much in this world in a way that I perhaps don't feel about any other album this year, other than maybe Bad Bunny, because he was so intentional with, like, his call out to Puerto Rico throughout that whole album that I feel setting wise very much that. But this is so, like, almost novel like in how it is able to put you inside this world for somebody who is from Australia, who has very few encounters with the South. To be able to feel the landscape is really a testament to her songwriting and her production throughout this whole thing. And I think that Willoughby Tucker is an exercise in, like, narrative and world building. And if that's the case, she ticks it off. Is certainly, it pop album of the year? Certainly not.
Right.
Like, this is not a play for her to be the next Max Martin by any means.
Sure, yeah.
And it's not what it's trying to do.
By far. I mean, I'm not at liberty to discuss male artists, as you know, but I'll take your word for it with the Bad Bunny of it all. But when you say, like,
the Bad Bunny album, I got Jono onto the Bad Bunny.
You got Jono onto it?
I got Jono onto it.
My God.
I know the gender doesn't
predecessor,
sit quite
crazy.
right for you, but
it's a little shaky for me. But yeah, I mean, as you said, as an Australian, are there any parts of Australian media that sort of tackle middle Australia, not the cities, not the coast, but, like, what goes on?
You know what?
In Central Australia? Was it just like Mad Max?
I think potentially in television, yes.
Okay.
And obviously in, like, kind of feature writing and news and places like that. But in terms of music, no.
Yeah.
Like, we're starting to get a presence for, like, artists who are able to, like, stand for the Indigenous experience in the country.
Certainly.
But even that is, like, that happening with more artists doing it is a relatively recent thing.
Sure.
But yeah, in terms of, like, being able to capture that landscape, which does have that sparseness that Ethel kind of does, it's, like, completely unrepresented in the country.
Yeah. We just I guess this album is sort of reminiscent of, like, movies like Badlands, of Wanda, of stuff like, I don't know, young like vigilante love, like
Yeah.
I don't know, even like the Natural Born Killers minus or like True Romance, even like California, stuff that is not,
Yeah.
that edges a bit more on the violent side, but like is representation of this long forgotten middle America, where like all you're really yearning for is a house in Nebraska. You don't,
Yeah.
your scope of hope is in a vacuum. This love, you don't really expect to leave your hometown, let alone make it to the Big Apple or so. So
that's fascinating to me. Like, that is this album's like true joy in general, because I guess the record industry, the way it's designed, is like, if you are discovered from these towns, and if you do have this like miraculous kind of like blow up, whether that be online, which I think is possible to do these days, the trajectory from there is LA or New York.
Truly. Yeah.
And through doing that, I think you naturally lose that ability to like recount what it actually is like to be in these places.
Right.
And the fact that Ethel has been so steadfast in staying and not doing that, I think comes at great benefit to her art. And I would love to like hear more art like that within music.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, I think Blue Bannisters does it slightly when like Lana did her like year of like road tripping through the South, basically, or through Middle America at that point. But there's very few examples of an artist of the stature of Ethel Cain remaining where they are and making art from there that reaches a huge amount of people, which I think is really, really cool.
Will Dr. Lute push for Perverts Miami? We'll have to wait and find out.
Perverts Miami. Fucking
we'll be right back.
On that note, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
This has been a super interesting and maybe like more difficult to discuss album than anything I've covered on the Pop Pod before.
Beyond like looking for hot takes on Reddit to plagiarize, I was like, I need to review like Faulkner. I need to read some like Flannery O'Connor to like really tackle this.
Yeah, there's some fucking like As I Lay Dying.
Truly, yeah.
Shit in this. Yeah, totally. Right. That's actually, that is, her connection is not Lana Del Rey. Her connection is like American novelists from that period.
From like early 20th century. Right. So to cap that off, we're not qualified for this discussion, so thank you for tuning in.
You've completely wasted your time, and you should have tapped out once we moved from Taylor Swift to Ethel. But honestly, thank you for joining us nonetheless. Thank you, Jan, for
thank you,
joining
Sam.
us.
Much appreciated.
If people want to reach you, I think I've already asked you this question that you just prefer they don't.
If they want to do some digging, if they want to do some doxing, all my passwords are the same. So you find one, you find them all.
Thank you for joining us. I will have you back for a much funner topic in the future.
Exciting, yeah.
Something like The National or
Jojo Siwa.
Yeah, Jojo Siwa. Yeah.
Wait, oh my God. And when Ethel released Fuck Me Eyes, I think she was like, this one is for you, Tim Carnes. So the Jojo feature is incoming.
Did she really?
Yes. Because it's very like Betty Davis eyes.
At the same time that Jojo was doing Betty Davis eyes. So these two are closer linked than we know.
The universe is a vast place until you get to the pop princesses, and then it's smaller and smaller.
Ethel is one step away from falling in love with a British reality star.
She's
Big
honestly,
Brother.
Yeah, that British reality
Ethel
star.
Cain in the Celebrity Big Brother house is amazing. We need to see that. They need to like House in Nebraska theme the whole thing.
The Punisher must be punished. It's time.
Her fans get to design the whole experience.
Oh, it's interactive.
Payback for giving 3 to 4 hours of their day to ambient drone music at times.
I think it's a fair trade, yeah.
Goodbye. Thank you for joining.
Bye, guys.